Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our reaction and review for What We Do in the Shadows, Season 5, Episode 3, Pride Parade. Now, as you guys can see, I just got back from a trip to the beach
Yeah.
with Laszlo. We had a good time. My guy is really just like having, okay, sure, he forgot the sunblock, but you know what? We can live with that. I will just say this from the start. I know this show is a comedy. I found it really moving, that scene with Laszlo on the beach by himself. Just
Me
think of,
too.
like, you're a guy who has, gone countless years, lifetimes for real people without being out in the sun. Just him sitting there looking at the ocean. I was just like, oh, Laszlo, my guy. Sure, you also kicked that ball into the water, but
Well, that's the thing is even though they still had comedy going on
yeah,
with him down at the beach, kick the ball in the water, grab the fish out with his hand. I mean, it was really touching for a show about vampires and it being kind of, a mockumentary and funny and whatever. It was really touching to feel that with him where he was just like, "Oh my goodness," when he realized that Guillermo's sweat might actually let him be in the sun, like it was pretty overwhelming.
yeah, it was so cool, and it's another layer to what I think is a really outstanding episode. And 5 seasons in to still have episodes this good is pretty jarring. I will say the premiere was incredible. I think episode 2 is very good. I wouldn't put it on the same level as the premiere, but I think episode 3 is another just like, top S tier episode of What We Do in the Shadows.
Absolutely. This episode was a 10 out of 10 for me. And if you watched our premiere video, which we'll link for you below,
Yeah.
you guys already know that I have a couple theories about why Guillermo is unable to transform fully into being a vampire. And I think that this particular episode gave some legs or some bat wings, if you will, to one of my theories, which is he unable to change because he made an oath to Nandor, and Nandor made an oath to change him. And because they made this oath together, a blood oath, if you will,
Yeah.
him going to somewhere else and trying to get changed has consequences. And because of their connection, that's what's happening here. And I think that there was proof in this episode, and we will get more into that as we go on in this video.
Now, before we do, just go ahead and join our Patreon. We got a link to that in the description below, because on Tuesday, July 25th, we are going to be over there with another live where you guys can ask questions. We will answer them. We'll have a good old time. We'll talk all about What We Do in the Shadows, a lot of other great shows. I mean, we are entering a really busy summer period. I know that there's a lot of things going on in terms of the actor strike and the writer strike right now, but there's still a lot of stuff on the air and a lot for us to talk about. And we really appreciate everyone who is supporting us over there. It means absolutely the world.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun doing these lives. We do them every single Tuesday. So if you want to join us and come and talk to us about Shadows, anything else we're covering here at the channel, anything you guys are watching that you want us to cover, that's the place to do that. Okay, let's start this video off with my theory and sort of that there might have actually been proof in this episode. Now, here's the theory again, that they are connected, and that they are connected on such a level now that now we might actually be seeing Guillermo like physically project this connection that they have together. So near the end of this episode, we saw Nandor go into space. And then when he landed, he was in a puff of smoke.
Yeah.
Guillermo was in the front of the stage. He was nowhere near that puff of smoke. And when he said, "Oh my goodness, master, like, are you okay?" a tiny puff of smoke came out of his mouth, and it was so fast. Yeah. Let me know in the comments. Did you guys see that puff of smoke? Because I saw that puff of smoke, and then I was like, if I blinked, I would have missed that puff of smoke that came out of his mouth. So you let me know if you saw it as well. But I went back and watched it an unhealthy amount of times. And it really got me thinking, tinfoil hat, why would he have that puff of smoke come out of his mouth when his master is also sitting in a giant puff of smoke and they're so far away from each other? And that's what I think it is. I know that there's other theories that we've talked about here, like that it's Guillermo's Van Helsing blood, and that's the thing that's stopping him from transforming. I've also kind of thought of the idea that maybe Derek just screwed it up. He's a fledgling
Yeah.
vampire. Maybe you need to be a vampire a bit longer to be able to turn people. Maybe you just messed it up, and this is the end of it. But now I feel like there's a little more proof that it is the actual oath that they made to each other.
All right, it's time for honesty hour, everybody. I did not see the puff of smoke the first time that I watched it. Like, I'll just own this. Maybe it's because I'm legally blind. Maybe it's just because my attention span isn't always the
But
best.
also, if you looked away for a second,
Yeah.
you were gonna miss it. It was so fast.
But once you had told me about this, and I did the same thing as you. I went back and I watched it a number of different times because I was trying to come up with like rational explanations for it. I mean, rational and so far as the world of What We Do in the Shadows can be. Like, I was like, okay, was it just really cold when they were filming? Was he just? But it was like it was smoke.
Nobody else.
Yeah, it was smoke. It was not just like, when you breathe out and you see like, a little bit of white air because it's so cold. That was not what it was. He was also not close enough to Nandor crashing back down to Earth, which we will talk about that in depth in a moment. But like, he wasn't close enough that the smoke would automatically be inhaled by him and not by anyone else. So
Yeah, I just think that him sort of turning into a vampire is bringing out the connection that he has with Nandor and sort of the oath that he made as a familiar to his vampire, and that some of these consequences are manifesting themselves.
And I think all of this can be true and still sort of build to sort of my own tinfoil hat theory for this season. And that is just that, while it's clear that there is this bond between Nandor and Guillermo wants nothing more than to be able to be a vampire. We've seen that from the start of the show. He has screwed the pooch already. He's got to find a way to either go all the way to vampire or revert back. I think he's going to have to revert back because I think this is another reminder that he and Nandor are intertwined, and he's got to be bitten by the correct vampire in order to make this work. So I still feel like we are on a road to a cure, and finding out how can a group of vampires help a fledgling potential vampire cure himself is such a hilarious story because they haven't been cured. They have no clue how to do this. Like that, there's just so much comedic potential here.
Okay, and here's my tinfoil
right.
hat theory about
still
the
on.
cure.
Okay.
I'm wondering, after seeing everything we talked about at the beginning of this video with Laszlo, and he's like, oh, wow, Guillermo can walk in the sun, and, if I use his sweat and I put it all over my body, I can go to the beach. Like, he just wants something just so simple, which is to just go to the beach, right?
Yeah.
Like everything that lots of us just take for granted, to just be able to go outside during the day and have the sun on you. Is it possible by the end of this season, if there really is a cure to help Guillermo, that Laszlo may be tempted to take it?
It's a good question. And I think it's Laszlo enjoys some of the finer things in life. He does.
He does.
He seemed to like being Jackie Daytona, even if it was for a short period of time.
Yeah, we've seen him dabbling in wanting to kind of be human again and just be kind of part of that. Like, he does enjoy some of the things of being a vampire. And of course, he loves being with Naja, but he has over time shown us that human side of him, that he is, Jackie Daytona, or when he stayed behind to help the baby Colin Robinson. And now he's in the sun being like, oh, wow, like this is what it's like. Like, I could be out here during the day with my best friend, Sean. I could be out here during the day kicking the ball around. I don't know.
You raise an interesting question there. Is Sean a good best friend? I think we have a lot to think about with that. Sean is batting 1,000, by the way, in this episode.
I know he
like
is.
the whole premise of like the comedic subplot here is that he needs to boost his approval rating, and he decides that this pride parade is going to be the way to do it. And all of his ideas, by the way, are just, one, ridiculous, two, incredibly offensive, and yet,
Oh my goodness. His shirt, poor Guillermo with that sign. Oh my goodness.
it was okay. It was also though so funny. Like there's a part of this that reminds me a lot of another really funny but also pretty offensive episode, The Office season 3 premiere with Michael Scott and Oscar, where here you have someone
Oh
who
my goodness, that was so
it was the most cringeworthy thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
so cringy.
But I think, Sean is this character who I don't think Sean is obviously like some, dark-hearted person or whatever, but he is so fundamentally clueless.
He's just a dum-dum.
Yeah, and he thinks that these vampires are going to be the way in which to really help spread the positive message. And, ultimately at the end of the day, Laszlo and Nandor and Naja, they have an acceptance for a lot of humanity. Like, they are these fun, celebratory people, and they do kind of weirdly bring out this perfect energy, whether it be all these just very bizarre ways in which they're doing it with Laszlo's speech and the outfit. And let's just talk about Naja now.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this whole plot, I think we all knew that it was going to kind of end here where, her dolly wants to have an opportunity to be human again and be back in her body. And Naja kind of gets pushed into it by the guide, and her dolly be like, okay, one day, sure, I feel bad. I broke your legs. Like, all right, I'll do this for you. And they switch bodies. The guide does not tell her that it has to be voluntary. So by the end of this, when Dolly's like, why would I go back? I have a human body now. I still have other things I want to do. Sorry for your luck. And it's just like, okay, well, if this is where we are, I was wondering if they were actually going to wrap it up in this one episode, and they didn't.
Yeah.
Which I'm very happy about, because watching Dolly in Naja's body is hilarious. Watching her trying to speed date, trying to seduce the vampire Colin Robinson, just laying there in the bed with her tongue sticking out. It was so funny. And it's also given Colin, kind of a fun thing to do, where he's like, okay, listen, I'll go into Naja's body as well. I'll smoke her out. Don't worry. Like, I'll take care of this. And now they're both trapped in her body. And this is just like, this actress is eating so good as far as material and showing the range of what she can do.
I really hope that they do pick up with this again in the next episode, and that this isn't one of those sort of things that's just like, next episode, everything's all better, because
this show's pretty good at not doing that.
Yeah, I really think that there's a lot of fun potential here, but it gives Naja a good long-term sort of storyline, because I was really concerned kind of entering this season. We had everything with the club, but now it's like, what's Naja gonna do now?
Yeah.
And I think this is this idea now of she's got the doll. She's got like this other sort of part of herself, if you will. How do you sort of shape that person's destiny? And, there is sort of this parental sort of idea behind all this, but there's also like this journey for identity. And then there's also the part that she's not even in her own body anymore. And so all of this combined is both really funny, but just also gotta be really, really frustrating. And it incorporates the guide, I think, in an interesting way, because it's like, the guide wants nothing more than to feel accepted. Like, she even has this really great line in this episode. It's like, you guys are a really hard group to crack. It's very hard for somebody to come in. And then, like, Laszlo and everybody, Nandor, everybody else just completely just like runs right over her.
Yeah.
And it gives her somebody more to directly sort of work with and play around with. Now,
especially since Naja's gonna need her to be able to switch them back at some point.
There was sort of a funny idea I had while watching all this that was kind of like, if I had to body swap into one of these characters, who would I want to be? And I think I'm gonna go with Nandor, just because I can fly to space, though I would...
Nandor, I want to fly to space.
Okay. One, this was really cool. Two,
it was really cool. I love the way that they did this.
I will say this already, because we don't know what anybody out there is thinking about this episode. I kind of feel, though, in the back of my brain, that there's going to be like this really vocal minority of people who are going to be like, Nandor goes to space. This is too far. The show has jumped the shark. Like,
absolutely. I have my hard hat on for those people, because I agree.
Yeah.
There's going to be a group of people that are like, this, it's too much. It's too ridiculous. You're watching a show about vampires.
Yes,
like,
correct.
guys.
there are no rules in a show that exists without rules.
Yeah.
And I think it all worked for just the physical comedy aspect of it, sure, but there was an emotional reason why Nandor was doing this too. It wasn't just for like a haha gag. It was like he is so jealous that I mean he doesn't know why Guillermo was hanging around with Laszlo, but he's just like, all this time I thought it was me. I thought it was me and you, Guillermo. We were buds, we were doing all this stuff together, and ultimately a lot of that's gone. And Nandor is just like he is a puppy constantly seeking attention or a pat on the head or some sort of like, good job, good boy, Nandor, you're doing it, you're doing great. And it's like now that he's not having it, he is just losing his mind.
I think Nandor, he's just such like looking for love and looking for companionship, because Laszlo and Naja have each other, and they talk to him and there's like a friendship there kind of, but it's very different. And Nandor has, we saw him looking for love, looking for his own companionship, and it didn't work out. And, the only real companionship that he's had is Guillermo. And he's had him for like, what's it been now? 12 years, 13 years? Like it's a long time. And so I understand why there's that sense in him of, I'm losing the only person that I have a true deep relationship with, whether he's able to kind of get that out and communicate that in a way that makes sense to Guillermo or makes sense to Laszlo, or if anybody even cares. I don't think he really understands what his relationship with Guillermo is, which is pure companionship. Somebody that he really does care about, that really cares about him too. And it's the only person he really has. So watching him, he's with Laszlo, he doesn't know why. I understand why he was like, oh, watch me, I'm going to go to space. And it's like, oh, are you doing this to impress him? I guess I am.
Laszlo, Nandor, you need therapy. Like, can we have an episode of Nandor in therapy? I want to see what that looks like. But also, just beyond all that, once again, very funny show, but very emotional sort of core here with Nandor.
Yes.
This is a guy who's been alive for centuries. And, he has tried so many different ways to fill various voids. This is somebody who had quite a few spouses, to say the least, in the past.
Yep.
He didn't really get it there. He tried to get it for somebody he could effectively control. That didn't work.
No, he just doesn't know how to open himself up to the one thing that he wants, which is true companionship.
And it's a hard thing to understand. I think it's a really hard thing for people to figure out. I hope Nandor gets there. This is the one big question I have for Nandor right now is that, my guy, you've been around for a very long time. Yep. Nobody has ever told you about things burning up in the upper atmospheres that you may want to try to find a way to not go up there and then show your whole you-know-what to the crowd.
Yeah, listen, that's the thing always sort of about this particular character where I'm just like, he's been around for centuries, for so long, that when it's like, what's a mole? I'm just kind of like, really? What's a mole? That's the most unbelievable part of the show. Not that he would go to space, but that he wouldn't know what some things really are. Like, he's been around for so long that it's like, okay, I get that he's kind of a dum-dum, and, he is, and he, we're not really out there destroying your village. It's just 200 guys having a good time, He really has a different way of looking at things. But at the same time, there's some stuff that I'm just like, you would know what it is. Even if it's you can only go out at night, and you would know what it is.
He is just such a weird, gloriously deluded person.
I love him. Favorite vampire. Thank you guys for everybody who answered that question in our last video, too. It was good to see where everybody lands on who's your favorite vampire.
To all my other Laszlo lovers out there, I feel seen. Thank you. Okay, what are you still listening at me for? You can have all the
Nandor.
Laszlo. See, I love Nandor. Okay, listen, everybody. And I'm not just trying to be like hokey here. Every character on this show is really, really good.
I know. Naja's a very, very close second for me.
Yeah, you've got, my doppelganger, the vampire Colin Robinson. You've got
Vampire Jim.
Really?
Mark Hamill will
okay.
always remember you as
I
the
know.
vampire, Jim.
It's really true. But okay, well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. This is such a crazy, fun episode. And yeah, check out our Patreon. Join over there. Links in the description. We have a live coming up on the 25th. And we will see you here next time.